my name is Kseniia. I work currently at ANKR as a marketing coordinator. And previously, I have been working as a chief marketing officer at Polkadex, which is the decentralized exchange on top of Polkadot network. And also throughout my way in crypto, which is about 2 years full-time, I have been consulting startups in terms of the strategy and marketing. So for today, I thought to take kind of more of a general approach and basically walk you through what marketing in Web3 looks like and what to pay attention to, especially if you're moving from Web2 space or if you want to find any hacks for yourself if you're already in Web3 space. I always like to start from the basics. So starting from what actually marketing is. It's a set of activities that are aimed at satisfying the market needs in order to extract revenue. Then digital marketing is any marketing activity that takes place online via the wide range of different channels and various internet platforms. Web3 marketing is marketing aimed at promoting blockchain-related projects and products. So everything that's in the new generation of web companies. And the main thing here is that you have way more stakeholders compared to traditional tech or any other traditional marketing for the company. So here you have product users that you would know from any tech-related company. You have developers that also might be known to you from tech perspective, but at the same time, you have 3 new groups of stakeholders to promote your products to. First of all, it's token holders and investors. Sometimes they're also the community members, but it can be, it's not always the case that your community members will hold your token. You might have just some people who are following you for the sake of staying in the loop. And also you have partners, which can be either your partners for the project, your tech partners, or even investors and venture capitalists that would be interested to invest in your project at some point. So the marketing was taking kind of a ride through different iterations of web. So in web, in the first version of web, we had the emergence of email marketing, of SEO practices. There was heavy focus on TV and audio practices and on print ads. In the second iteration of web, the focus was on social media. The approach was heavily data-driven, and different practices like growth marketing emerged as well and were heavily used. Also, everything in marketing took very direct and very targeted approach. So information was key here. In Web3, the focus changed a bit. So Web3 has its own set of different tools, such as non-fungible tokens. Everything has to be decentralized. There's a very heavy focus on artificial intelligence. And there is a great help coming to marketing from the point of view of tokenization of products and projects. So the goals of Web3 marketing, as you have more stakeholders and as you have a different approach, the goals also differ. First of all, you need to raise the awareness of your brand, which is kind of constant throughout any marketing for any company. Secondly, you have to increase the community size, which for marketing in Web3 is one of the cornerstones, because eventually you want to grow your kind of the army of your brand advocates. Thirdly, you want to incentivize product usage or platform usage. I put this on the third place because it's quite often in the crypto space that companies go to the market, let's say with initial token offering, but at the same time, they're still building their product, so they don't have the product yet. And usually product marketing is kind of a separate beast to crypto traditional marketing. As the fourth point, you have to grow the number of token holders and consequently the token price. It's not a custom in the blockchain space to speak about the token price because it's kind of a gray area which might be prosecuted, but at the same time, as the company that has the token and is probably financed partially at least through the token, you are really interested to kind of grow your reserves through the token price. And as a fifth goal, kind of let's call it the side goal, attract investors and venture capitalists. This is very important because everything in blockchain space and in Web3 space costs a lot. So potentially you will need a lot of money to develop the product, to keep the team, to invest in marketing. So the more interest you have from investors and VCs in the space, the better for you currently and in the future as well. On this slide, I wanted to go through kind of the transition of standard 4 Ps of marketing in Web2 and how they would look like in Web3. So in Web2, you have product. In Web3, you will have product or service that you're marketing, plus the token adjacent to your project. In terms of the price, you will also have the price of the product or platform access or any type of blockchain-based service that you're marketing, plus the price of the token. For promotion, you will also have the mix of traditional Web2 channels, plus some native Web3 channels. And the place, obviously, everything in blockchain is happening very heavily online, but at the same time, now, especially after the COVID times, different offline events like meetups, conferences, sponsorship events are also emerging and bringing a lot of value to projects. I'm a big fan of asking a lot of questions before diving deep into things, because I think especially in the industry that's so difficult, such as blockchain and anything crypto Web3 connected, as a marketing person, you really have to have a good understanding of what you are talking about. And I try, for my projects, I try to simplify everything as much as possible. So anyone who's in the community will kind of get the gist of what we're working on, no matter how technical the product is. For this, you obviously need to know a lot yourself, and you need to ask a lot of questions. First of all, I like to know what's the product and what is the revenue structure. I think the product is quite obvious because you have to talk about it and you have to know all the pros and cons to be able to market it. In terms of the revenue structure, I would say that this is really important because if you know the revenue structure, you can kind of build out the marketing funnel and you can understand how your actions will transfer and result into any monetary value for the company itself. Also, I think on a psychological level for company founders, if they know the revenue structure, it's easier for them to basically allocate some budget into marketing and invest when they know that they will have the return on investment. Secondly, it's very important to know who are your target users, and in particular, how do they benefit from your product or a service? Or if they're not going to use your product and service, how can they benefit from being a part of your community? Let's say if they don't want to use your product, or if they cannot use your product, let's say your product is very technical, it's for developers, and as a community member, I want to be a part of it. Can I be a brand ambassador? Is your token used inside the product? So all these things that will basically incentivize me using it. Thirdly, who are your competitors? How do you stand among the competition, and do you offer anything unique or better than your competition is currently doing? I think this is very important to have kind of a benchmark in your mind, because what I like to do is to see what competitors are doing really well, what is missing from their strategy, and in general, how they're talking about their product and how it's landing on the market. The fourth question is your project centralized or decentralized? Is it tokenized or non-tokenized? This is very crucial for marketing in Web3 space, simply because for centralized and decentralized, you will have a bit different approaches. You will have a bit of a different target audience, maybe even, because there are a lot of people in crypto who are DeFi pros, and they're called usually degens. They don't want to have anything in common with centralized, for example. And decentralization is a very fast evolving trend. So if you are decentralized, you will have some perks on the back of it. tokenized or non-tokenized, because if you can use the token, if your project release the token or is planning to release the token, it's a huge benefit for you as a marketer, because you can do a lot of things connected to it. Like you can do allocation-based work, you can reward your community with a token, you can do giveaways or anything of the sort, kind of saying thank you to your community and basically paying in the token for your marketing efforts. The fifth question is, what are the right ways and platforms for marketing of your project? Here, I think it's exactly the same as in Web2 space. You always need to understand who you're talking to and where your target audience hangs out to be able to grasp their attention. And the last question, but not the least, it's not only about the budget, it's also about the effort your team is willing to invest into marketing. I think sometimes the effort might be even more important here, because the way Web3 space is structured, you have a lot of agitated people, because there are lots of difficult concepts, and the team has to be always out there and always doing something, not just building the product, but also building the trust from the community. So estimating who are people who will be involved in marketing from leadership of your company and how much time and effort they can allocate to that is really crucial. So based on everything that I told before, in my opinion, the Web3 marketing persona is a bit wider than the general marketing person. In my opinion, the marketing leader for Web3 has to have a very broad skill set. So you need to have the product marketing knowledge, simply because you're working with tech companies and you want to stay in the loop. And in any case, you will be connected to developer teams. So you have to at least understand what they're saying and then kind of humanize whatever developers are saying and transfer it to the normal day-to-day language of the community. Secondly, obviously, digital marketing, sales, because you are still kind of on the intersection between community, between partners, maybe even investors. For this, you need investor relations, business development as well. And I think it's also beneficial. It's not like a prerequisite, but it's really beneficial to know some core principles of psychology, just because you're dealing with huge communities and you're dealing with a completely different mentality of users compared to traditional tech space. There are lots of different areas that make users nervous or make them feel like a fish out of water. So it's always nice to know different nudges of how to turn everything to your benefit. And obviously, you need to know the general economic and political landscape. This is super important due to fluctuations and volatility in the market. And let's say you don't want to talk about huge profits when the whole market is down, because it's definitely not going to be taken really well. For the mainstreams of Web3 marketing, you usually have to focus on consumer marketing, developer marketing, and community marketing. For each of them, you have different tactics. So consumer marketing is going to be more like raising awareness for your project and product, educating consumers, and trying to bring them into community by transmitting this information. In terms of developer marketing, this is more focused on either layer one solutions or companies selling technology to either independent developers or companies or communities of developers. So here you have to do outreach to developer communities and establish support. There's a separate department in companies for that usually, which is called the DevRel, Developer Relations. And community marketing, it's, I think, the most fun part, because here you can get very creative. So anything goes from memes, videos, competitions, to education as well. So your main goal is to connect with your audience and to make them go crazy about your brand, to make them very loyal and want to join you in any effort that you have and basically follow you and engage with your brand. I would say that there are quite a lot of difficulties of Web3 marketing that are very native to the space due to the nature of the industry itself. First of all, compared to the Web2, there's super limited information about target audiences and people who might become your potential clients. So basically, you don't know that much about them because the whole point of decentralizing the space and doing things peer-to-peer is that people have a lot of privacy. So potentially, you cannot talk about your product users as marketing personas we're used to in Web2 space, because here, most likely, especially with the token holders, you will not have any limitations on genders, age, income, what your users are interested in, or even where they're located. You can get the scraps of this data either from your website or somehow like proactively gathering this from, let's say, Twitter or any questionnaires that you're circulating, but this is going to be just your active audience. So you will still be kind of not in the know for that. Secondly, on the back of limited information, you also have limited tracking and analytics options, because the main platforms for growth of marketing of anything in Web3 would most likely for you be Twitter and Discord. If you saw Twitter and Discord analytics, it's not very fascinating. So you don't have any breakdown on your users, and most likely you are going to have to use any side platforms for that. And the data there is also not really awesome. Thirdly, the industry is really complicated, and there is a lot of demand from non-tech people to enter the industry now. So this has all sorts of different implications, because potentially you have a lot of people who don't have the knowledge, and most likely in like 70% of cases, they don't want to learn. So they want you to give them everything on the silver platter. So here you have to deal with breaking down tech-heavy concepts and making something more digestible out of them. You also have to find a way to introduce the industry jargon, but still be able to kind of transfer it to the normal talking space. You also, talking about jargon, you have all sorts of things like FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, doubt, scams, and hype in the industry. So sometimes you can ride the wave if something is hyping. Other times, if the market is down, in general, you will have a lot of FUD and a lot of confusion of different sorts. Also, the market is really seasonal, which is not often happening in Web2. So in Web2, this is going to be particular products or particular industries, while here the seasonality is in everything. First of all, you have bear market versus bull market. If in bull market, you can do quite a few mistakes and things are flying, in bear market, you have to be laser focused, because basically whatever you invest into your marketing, be this money or efforts, will land less efficiently than if it was the bull market. Also, you need to track the micro sentiment, which is the overall community sentiment and the crypto ecosystem sentiment inside the industry, and the macro sentiment, which is going to be the events on a wider economic and political level. As I already mentioned, the market is also very sensitive. So it's very turbulent to different changes. And most likely, as the marketing person, you will have to have a strategy on how to manage community's stress and expectation levels of the community. Because let's say 80% of people are coming to crypto to gain on the token price. And if this is not happening, you will have a lot of heat. So you have to kind of always have a backup strategy. And also to the educational aspect, it's obviously closing the knowledge gaps. So how to explain something very complicated in simpler terms so people understand what you're telling them, and also will be interested to kind of continue learning with you. And the last difficulty is multiple stakeholders who all have different goals. So basically in terms of marketing and crypto, you have to find the middle ground to cater to all of them. So I'm usually saying that you have to stay very professional, but at the same time, you have to be fun and human-like in whatever you are posting to the outer world. For the marketing and Web3, I like to say that you will be fine if you're following the principles of the blockchain itself. So first of all, it's decentralization. So in terms of marketing, you have to cater globally. I'm not a big fan in crypto of choosing one particular market unless your product is very focused on a particular market. I think it's always easier to win the English-speaking audience first and then go to regions, just because regions are most likely going to be expensive and it's going to take a lot of human resource from your team as well. Then transparency, because you are talking to people and people are following you, and in crypto people are following each other really eagerly. So whatever you say, you have to stick to your mission, you have to speak about your vision. And I think it's always better, in my experience, it was always better with projects if something is going wrong, just to tell it openly to the community, which they will appreciate, instead of covering some things or like lying about the dates and things like that. And thirdly, it's immutability. So immutability means that the information that you posted cannot be changed. I think this is very fair for Web3 marketing, because also it's kind of stems from the notion that people are very active in the space, people provide feedback really quickly. And let's say if you posted something on Twitter and you took it down, chances are that somebody already caught this information and maybe even started transmitting it. But I think as an optimist that if we have lemons, we can make a wonderful lemonade out of it. So you can turn your Web3 pains into your Web3 marketing gains. How can you do that? Let's take the limited information about target audiences. So here, from one side, this is an issue. From another side, you have a lot of target users. So you can be really creative and really have fun in terms of creating different strategies of how to cater to their varying tastes and their varying goals. Secondly, limited tracking and analytics options. On one side, this is really bad, but whatever you have as analytics in Web2 is going to be the analytics of your wider audience. And probably you are very interested to cater to your most active users, at least at first. What is amazing and kind of horrifying in terms of crypto is that you have the real feedback from the active audience. So whatever you post, almost instantly, you will have questions, you will have comments, and you will see like what is the general temperature in the room. The industry is complicated on one side, but on another side, it creates a lot of opportunities for educational content, and it creates a lot of opportunities for starting new marketing streams. Basically, what I like about the blockchain space is that it's really difficult to run out of topics to talk about. You can do different drip series of content about deep dive into your product, about the industry. You can tie it to partners. So things are happening all the time and you can really leverage this in your content. Seasonality of the market can be kind of won through human interaction and opportunities to pivot your marketing strategy. What I meant by that is that when market is going down, for example, like now there is a bear market, if you talk to your community on a human level, if you really show that you are supporting them, you're there for them, and you keep kind of not only existing, but you keep building, your project keeps thriving, this is what people really value because they need some additional layer of security. And lastly, the market sensitivity, also stemming from the previous point, human interaction and more focus on the power of communities and ownership coming from the communities. So here you can try different sorts of things like brand advocates, user-generated content, leveraging local communities, working with influencers who are cold and crypto key opinion leaders, creating DAOs and doing different governance ways to show community that you really care and they are the key of everything you do in blockchain marketing. So the Web2 marketing channels in Web3 will be website and SEO. content marketing on platforms like Medium, HackerNoon, and different crypto-related blogs. Social media marketing, including Twitter and Instagram. Community marketing, which will be Discord, YouTube, Telegram, and I forgot to mention Reddit in here. Video marketing will include educational and promo videos. Thought leadership, it's everything where you can show your expertise. Most likely it's PR, interviews, conferences, and different expert panels. Events, both digital, online, and offline, and pay-per-click and paid social that we're all used to. For the native channels and techniques in Web3 marketing, there are really a lot of them, but some of the key ones are everything focused on developers and tech people. So starting from the white paper or light paper on the website to developer-related content like tutorials, and basically being active on developer-related platforms. Partnerships, here you can do everything in terms of like core business functions or tech-related partnerships, or even something on the lighter level that is purely marketing. Tech-native community channels, Discord, Reddit, and Telegram chats are always helpful. This is where the crypto crowd usually hangs out. And direct contact with the founding team is really important here. So this is something quite new to the traditional space, but something that is very, very important to Web3 space. Think of different Ask Me Anything sessions, community calls, as a founder and team members being open and active on social media, for example. And also Web3 space has different engagement things that are native to the space, such as different competitions with token giveaways or NFT giveaways in either solely from your company or in partnership with somebody, memes, NFT sales, and the whole range of different things. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm hoping you have questions. And by the way, huge thank you to the Slon team for my awesome presentation design.
Thank you so much. Again, very, very glad to have you here. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions. I'll try to group some of them together. The first one being maybe a more general question for business owners is, what is the best way, in your opinion, to attract investors in the Web3 space?
That's a very difficult question, I would say, because it really depends on the product that you're pushing out. But I would say from how the space is structured currently, you need to not only have an amazing product, but you also need to start working on your community. So basically investors now are interested in also knowing that you are relevant for the space and people are interested in you. Because now we're in kind of in a mini bear market, I should say, and it's a bit more difficult now to raise the investments compared to how it was even a year ago. So you have to stay active and you have to show that you are interesting.
Got it. Super quick question, almost like a rapid fire answer. What is your opinion on Twitter ads?
That's a good one. I would say I'm 50-50 because there are a lot of gray areas in here. It's not very clearly defined what you're supposed to do. And I know that a lot of companies are falling into the trap of advertising and then getting their accounts closed. I would say that if your product is not heavily token focused, if it's like a platform, definitely it's a huge go. Also, you need to have really cool banners for that, or even better to have videos. If you're promoting something connected to the token or connected to trading, let's say, double check with the Twitter team just not to waste your effort and waste your money. But I think the space is moving in the right direction.
Got it. Okay, and then next one, again, more of a global question is, how did you get into the crypto space? And for someone in the chat who's asking this, they also asked, where should they start? What would you recommend?
I got into the space very randomly. So I shared this story once and somebody said that this sounds very fake, but it's a legit story. So I lost my job in Web2 during the pandemics, and I was just searching what to do. And quite randomly, I received a LinkedIn message from somebody to whom I was recommended. So they've been working on a crypto product, and basically we decided that I'm going to learn along the way. Then I became completely hooked on the space. I just closed myself at home for, I think, like a month. And I was consuming all the information I could consume, like starting from trading courses to just general blockchain thing. Then I joined Polkadex as Chief Marketing Officer. And I was kind of like a baptism by fire, just because the industry is always changing. But I would say if you want to join the space and you don't have experience now, I would start from educating yourself and maybe building something like your knowledge base. So let's say if you are in marketing, start writing a blog about crypto, start analyzing the situation, analyzing different marketing campaigns, because essentially what the founders want to see is not your experience in Web3, but they want to see that you will not need handholding when you join the space. So they want you to be like very independent.
Got it. And then the last question, this one actually came from me. It's what is your favorite part of the day in terms of processes or tasks, or maybe something you look forward to every single day that's maybe related to the crypto space, Web3 space, that's not found as much in other sorts of jobs?
I really like the aspect of events and partnerships, because I think, first of all, as the company, you get a lot from that. And for me, this is still like magic, because even with the new projects that I'm working with, when we start doing different AMA sessions with partners or like giveaways, it always snowballs. So there's a lot that you can get from it, both in terms of engagement and community, and also kind of in terms of visibility, because I think we're all human, right? So when we see that somebody is open to collaborating, this is always interesting, because we're all searching for more or less the same things.
Got it. Maybe any other last advice or any tips and tricks you would give to everyone watching, maybe a shout out or anything like that?
I would say that probably the advice, if you are in the space, like keep experimenting, because there are a lot of things. If you're not in the space and want to join, just take a deep dive, because it's a very interesting space. There are lots of talent is needed. Just make yourself a goal, like think of where you would like to work and what you can bring to the table, and just go full in with that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it for Kseniia. Again, thank you for coming out.